Natural disasters are no longer rare events. Floods in Chennai, cyclones along Indian eastern coast, earthquakes, fires, these events test not just communities but the financial systems that support recovery. Behind every insurance claim settled after a catastrophe, there is an invisible safety net working quietly, which is called reinsurance. Today, we explore reinsurance and catastrophic risk, and joining us today is someone who has worked behind the scenes of these large scale risk events for over 17 years. Our guest, Mrs. Shirley Vivek, she is a seasoned reinsurance specialist with deep experience in compliance, client knowledge sharing, and placing complex facultative reinsurance for mid and large sized risk across industries. Mrs. Shirley, I'm so happy to welcome you to the podcast.
Thank you, Suchitra. So glad to be here.
You're welcome. So, without any further delay, let's start at the beginning. So, what drew you into reinsurance, a field many people don't even know exists?
That's true. Most people don't grow up saying that they want to work in reinsurance. And even today, when people ask me in which sector do you work, and when I say reinsurance, they are like puzzled. So I need to spend some time explaining to them that reinsurance is providing insurance for insurance companies. So basically, everyone is familiar with the term insurance, but reinsurance is still uncharted territory. For me, I decided to pursue a course in insurance when the Indian insurance industry was liberalized and the market opened up to private players. I then joined an insurance broker, an Indian insurance broker through campus placement and continued there for 15 long years. During my stint there, I got to work in various roles including client servicing, training, audit and compliance, and knowledge sharing. And the last 5 years of that was in the reinsurance department. It was not something that I chose consciously that I wanted to work in the reinsurance department, but it so happened that the person handling the role in the reinsurance department quit the company and they wanted someone in Hyderabad to fill that position, and they wanted somebody who's familiar with the company and the working style, and they did offer to me and I accepted that. Coming to the role in reinsurance, what really drew me in was the complexity. Every risk had a story, every placement required understanding, not just the numbers or just not understanding the coverage of a policy, but you had to understand how an industry works, how the people they work, what are the exposures in an industry, and that combination really kept me hooked.
Okay, that's so interesting how you entered into reinsurance. So over 17 years, over 17 years is a long journey. How has your role evolved during this time?
Yeah, so initially it was all about insurance, and then as I said, the last 5 years was into reinsurance. And when I entered reinsurance, the jargon used there was completely different. Then though I worked from the insurance industry, it still took me some time to get familiar with the reinsurance jargon and the concept used there. So when I started, the focus was very transactional, getting to know how to do it. It was very transactional, getting quotes, completing other placements, meeting deadlines, managing documentation. So you didn't really have much time to think over it. Over time, I was able to connect the dots, and today my role has expanded into advisory work, helping clients understand their risk profile, explaining why certain risks attract capacity, why others don't, then helping clients navigate their locally admitted requirements and their compliance needs in various countries, and how reinsurers perceive each risk differently. So today, reinsurance isn't about just buying capacity, it is more about strategy, and we help clients navigate through that.
Okay, that sounds interesting. So you have worked with mid and large industrial clients, right? Was there a moment that made you truly appreciate the impact of reinsurance?
Of course, there were several moments, but then always it is the catastrophe events that stand out.
Okay.
When you see, a client factory that you have insured gutted down by a fire, or a hydroelectric project that you just ensured being washed away in a flash flood, their operations completely halted, the employees anxious, the management wondering how to get things back on track. And then finally, when you see claims getting paid because reinsurance responded in the background, that's just powerful. It's a reminder that, reinsurance isn't just something abstract. It is there for you when you need it. So it enables recovery, it enables people continuity with their job. The human impact definitely stays with you.
Interesting. So, what keeps you motivated in such a high pressure domain, Shirley?
The responsibility of handling this, the catastrophe risks are unforgiving, actually. So you make one wrong assumption, you structure one cover in a wrong manner, or it is poorly structured without applying proper thought to it, and that can have serious consequences and give you sleepless nights. So knowing that your work helps insurers remain solvent, help people rebuild their lives, communities rebuild, motivating. Since risk is never constant, the industry is always and continually evolving. Today we have climate change, cyber systemic events, new risk models like pandemic modeling. So there's always something new to learn in this industry.
Right. So, going further, let's ground our listeners even more. So, I want to ask you, what exactly is catastrophic risk?
So catastrophe risk refers to a low frequency but high severity event. The chance of it happening is low, but if it happens, the impact is huge. Cyclones, you have large earthquakes, you have large industrial fires which burn down an entire complex or an entire layout. Or even you have these global events like the tsunami that we had in 2004, caused massive losses at once across countries. It was not restricted to even one location. So here when you're handling the catastrophe risk, you're not talking about the claim of one building or one house or one motor vehicle. Catastrophe losses can affect thousands of policyholders simultaneously, and that creates a huge financial strain on reinsurers when they have to pay up claims. So that is why these risks require special planning and global risk sharing mechanisms, and that is where reinsurance really helps.
So, what do you feel? Why these catastrophic risk increase are they are seemingly increasing in India specifically?
There are a couple of drivers for that. First, I would say climate change. Today we are seeing more intense cyclones, erratic rainfall, urban flooding. And then second is urbanization. These are expanding rapidly. Many times we are expanding into flood-prone areas, or buildings are coming up in lake beds to the coastal areas. Then you have the uncontrolled industry growth also. You have large manufacturing hubs coming up, ports, refineries, logistics centers coming up, and all these mean high value concentration. Lot of risk in one area are concentrated in one area. And you also have today the supply chain and systemic interconnectedness. Earlier, there was not much connection between one industry to another industry, but today the modern economy is very tightly interconnected, and a single business, a catastrophe event can trigger business interruption across continents and supply chain bottleneck. So even if it is an industry in Japan which has been affected by a earthquake, that can be there even in India. And this has been over the last 10-15 years, we have seen multiple instances where something happens in one country or another continent, and the effect ripples across to various continents and various other manufacturing concerns.
Uh, so I'd like to ask you, where does reinsurance step in, during such events?
So reinsurance acts like a shock absorber.
Okay.
When insurers face loss beyond their retention level, beyond what they can take, reinsurers step in to absorb these claims. So this allows insurers to settle claims quickly without threatening their financial stability. Otherwise, when such catastrophic claims come, there is a very high chance that insurers can then go insolvent because the size and the number of claims will be very high. So if reinsurance was not there, then insurers would either limit their coverage, they would give a basic coverage or a low value coverage to every person, or for every motor vehicle being insured or every building being insured, or they would struggle to pay after major disasters like a cyclone or a flood or a tsunami.
Okay, that's very insightful, Shirley. Also, can you share an Indian example where reinsurance made a real difference?
Absolutely. During the cyclone Amphan and the Chennai floods, the insurers faced massive property and motor claims across the regions, especially motor claims, because if the roads were all flooded and the vehicles were all outside or parked in the basements, almost all the vehicles suffered some damage. So, reinsurance programs, both treaty and facultative, played a crucial role in ensuring that the liquidity of insurers was not affected, and claims were paid faster because insurers could recover large portion of these claims from the reinsurers. So these events demonstrated how global capacity can support local recovery. We have the capacity, must be having the capacity from Switzerland or from Germany, and they have actually supported the recovery of communities in Chennai. Oh wow! Such events demonstrate that.
Okay, so this looks far more than what we actually think about reinsurance. That's it. All right. So you specialize in facultative placements. How do they differ in catastrophe scenarios?
So facultative reinsurance is like highly customized. Um, Actually for large industrial risks like power plants, refineries, ports. So standard treaty limits may not be enough because the value of those risks are very high. And it may also happen that insurers may not be comfortable, feeding those high hazard risks into their treaty, because a loss in the treaty can affect the entire treaty performance. Hence, facultative placements allow insurers to transfer, the high value risk on those which exceed the treaty limits to facultative, or it also may be a situation where they don't want to place that risk into the treaty because they anticipate that the chance of a loss is high. So for that, they go for a facultative placement. In catastrophe exposed zones, facultative reinsurance ensures that a single large loss does not destabilize the treaty of the insurer. So that is why they go for more customized solution called facultative placements.
Okay, all right. So looking ahead, how do you see the future of catastrophe reinsurance in India?
Majorly, I see three trends in India for catastrophe insurance. One is there will be a greater use of data analytics, technology, and catastrophe modeling. Two, there will be more innovation in products like parametric insurance, tailored to India's unique risk landscape. And there will also be development of new risk transfer products like catastrophe bonds, they're known as CAT bonds. Three, global reinsurers are bringing in ESG-linked underwriting frameworks. So ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. So increasingly, reinsurers are including these factors directly into the risk assessment. So today, if you see, as part of their green initiative and as part of their corporate social responsibility and ESG requirements, Many reinsurers today have stopped underwriting coal power plants because they are causing environmental pollution. So going forward, reinsurance will increasingly reward clients who invest in resilience, like better construction, like using heat-resistant materials, better safety systems, and disaster preparedness. Also, in the near future, reinsurance is going to reward clients who are willing to adapt to climate change. And there may be mandatory climate risk disclosures required by corporates. So, reinsurance and climate adaptation are now interdependent. Earlier, climate adaptation was something that just only the governments are concerned about, counting an environmental policy for the government. But today, it is becoming a core underwriting variable which will shape the future of catastrophe insurance. So, very soon, resilience metrics may become as important as loss ratios when reinsurers consider offering many lives. Reinsurance will become a partner in risk management, just a financial back. Okay.
All right, so this has been a really an eye-opening conversation, Shirley, from the invisible mechanics of reinsurance to the very, the real human impact of how it creates after catastrophe. So thank you so much for sharing not just your expertise, but your journey and your perspective. Once again, we thank you so much for joining this podcast, Shirley.
Oh, thank you, Suchitra, for having me. Been an absolute pleasure.
You're most welcome. And to our listeners, behind every disaster recovery story is a complex web of risk, trust, and global cooperation. Reinsurance may be invisible, but its impact is everywhere.